I'm going to try to make it through this without losing it. It is. I am Roel's oldest grandchild. But to me, he was only ever Opa. I didn't go to the grandparents' house. I went to Oma and Opa's house. It was his name as much as his title. And it was, it was just who he was. He wasn't this great orator or this teacher. He was just this sweet old man who made me sausages whenever I begged him. When his youngest daughter, Jeannie, told him that she was pregnant, I think it's safe to say he was not shocked. And I know this because he told me, when I was taking care of them very briefly after I left the Air Force. I remember coming upstairs to start making dinner, and he was on the phone with my mom, and he said, "Okay, yeah, Messi, thank you." And he hung up, and I watch him sit back and look up at the sky, and he just goes, "Ugh, Messi." I said, "Is everything okay?" And he's still looking up at the sky with his eyes closed, and he says, "When my youngest daughter came to me and said she was pregnant," and he leans over and he says, "We were not surprised." I was like, "Man, Opa, are you gonna just do her like that?" He says, "Yeah, it was, nobody was shocked." He had my mom move in with him and myself as well until I was about 4. After that, we moved just a few blocks away. I was still within walking distance. And I would, anytime I was mad at my mom, we got into an argument, I would just walk over to Oma and Opa's house. And I think due to my proximity to him, it's safe to say that I had a very different relationship with him than the rest of my cousins. That's not to say that he didn't spoil all of us rotten. That was not the same man that raised these 4. That was an old man trying to get into heaven now. So he spoiled all of us like crazy. But my cousins had their fathers, Steve and Mark. And my father went the way of the western wind, so he was the only one I had. So he filled the role in his own way. And was the single most impactful man in my life, and who taught me what it meant to be a man. Oh. He is who taught me how to be breathtakingly stubborn, as well as compassionate and kind and understanding and inquisitive. He taught me so much in so many small and nuanced ways over the years. Lessons against toxic masculinity, about being able to express myself and my emotions like I am right now, and that a man's mind is his greatest tool. The wrench, the screwdriver, those are all great, but those wouldn't exist if we hadn't invented them. The biggest lessons that he taught me were simple. And those are the ones that I plan on teaching my children one day. A man will care about others. It's simple, but so rare these days. Opa always gave to others of smaller means. Excuse me, can I have a Kleenex? turn it into a faucet up here. Opa had child pen pals all over the world that he would donate to, and they would respond to him. And it was so just inspiring for me to see how much he gave. When I learned Spanish, he even asked me to help write some of the letters to this young girl in Mexico that he bought shoes for and donated. It was very, just very touching. In a world that has grown increasingly hostile to those that is different, he always showed me that every person, no matter where they're from or their means, was important. And that we should help those wherever they are when we can. A man will protect his loved ones, even if you have to protect them from themselves. Opa was fiercely loyal to all of us, those that he loved. And he would bend over backwards to help if you asked him. Excuse me. I don't think there's a single person in this room that he hasn't consoled or bent an ear to in some way, shape, or form. And at any hour of the day that we called, he would answer and he would help. If it was 3 o'clock in the morning, he would give us our full attention. He wouldn't deflect and say, "Can we talk about this later?" It would happen then, that moment. He knew he was needed. But he would also help when we didn't want him to, and tell us things that we were not wanting to hear, but needed to hear. He would also give us money we didn't want from him, and he would insist that we take, and it was infuriating. But the things that he would say that we weren't ready to hear were always of the utmost importance, like when Anne called him one semester, a bit distraught and beside herself because she had gotten a B in one of her classes. And when she told him that, his response was, of course, to laugh. He says, "Good. B's are good for you." It's one of his favorite stories to tell about you. He told it many, many times to me. He was always good at telling us what we didn't want to hear when we needed to hear it. A man will do what he says he's going to do when he says he's going to do it. Opa's word was his bond. If he made you a promise, he kept it, and he expected you to keep any promise that you made as well. And you better do that promise on time, because this man was beyond punctual. He would show up 15 minutes late for any appointment, and he had an internal clock. He never used an alarm clock. It was insane. I don't know how he did this, but even atomic clocks are like, how does he do that? When my mother and I would have a flight at 7 o'clock in the morning, he would be there at 3 o'clock. He would have woken himself up. He didn't set an alarm. He did anything. He just told himself, yeah, I'll wake up at 3. And he will be awake and at our doorstep, ready to take us there. I don't know how he did that. It's still a mystery to me. And don't ever be late with him. The look of disappointment that I got from him a few times could probably freeze gasoline on the spot. It was, he had a glare. And he was so insistent on being on time that I had arranged for him to take me to a job interview when I was younger. And that interview happened to be on the day of his stroke that he'd had in the morning. And he went to the hospital with Oma and made her leave the hospital to come get me, to take me to my interview so that I was there on time. And he also made her promise that she would not tell me of this stroke until after the interview, because he knew if I knew, I wouldn't go. And he was absolutely right. I was furious when I found out that he forced Oma to go take me to this interview. I got the job, but I was not happy with him. A man will learn, and that everything he does learn, he will question. I'm sure that it is no shock that Opa emphasized critical thinking and the exercise of the mind in all of us. It was his greatest passion to teach us as often as he could. He was the incarnation of the pursuit of knowledge. And if there was anything that I wanted to know, whether it was the history of something, how it worked, the origin of this topic, he would tell us at length. If you asked him about any of these things, you better set aside about 45 minutes, because he's going to tell you everything he knows about this topic. And it's like, man, I just wanted to know what it was. I didn't need a dissertation about it, man. And if he didn't know, he would make you think he did, because that dude made more stuff up on the spot than a politician in a debate. He would just lie to your face with a little twinkle in his eye, and you would believe him, because he was just so confident in what he said. And it got to be so bad when I was younger, he would mess with me in this way so badly that I started not to believe things that he told me. I would run to Oma and ask, is that true? And she would say, no. She'd call him out every single time, because that was her job. But there's a very specific situation that when I was younger, I didn't believe him anymore about the things that he told me. And he told me about this bird in Australia that laughs, called the kookaburra. It would go hee hee hee, ha ha ha. And I said, Opa, that's not true. You made that up. And he was like, no, it's true. And I didn't believe him until he went to Australia for his brother's funeral and brought back this stuffed bird. He always brought anything back from me, from all of these trips that he did. I have an entire wall of heirlooms and knickknacks and things that he brought me. But this bird was a stuffed kookaburra. He gave it to me for Christmas. And if you squeezed it, it would make the sound. And I was like, you were telling the truth the whole time about this bird? Are you serious? I was so mad. I was like, how am I supposed to know what's truth and what's not anymore? And he says, that's the point. Question everything. And never trust what someone says, even if that person is the old man who knows everything that you live with. Truly, one of the greatest minds of an age is gone. And I think we're all lesser for his passing. We don't have him as a resource anymore, because he was. I know he's at peace, though. He lived a full and successful life with a beautiful family, and passed on a legacy of intelligence, temperance, kindness, and stubbornness in all of us. I have this mental picture in my head of him in the library of the universe now, sitting at a table, books piled all around him, all of this sacred, lost, and hidden knowledge of the universe. And he's just studying away, and he is laughing down those hallways at all of the funny and silly and wrong things that humans have been just incorrect about this whole time, because that was his favorite thing, was to discover that we had been wrong for so long about so many things. I miss him a lot. A lot. Even now, there are things that I want to ask him about, to apply some final wisdom from him. Oh, even when I went to go see him just the week before he passed, I couldn't help but asking him, questions about things, and he tried his best to answer. But he told me that week that I'm the man in the family now. That was really hard to hear, because I don't know if I'm ready for that responsibility. But there's a quote that he told me, that when a student is ready, a teacher will appear. And when a student is truly ready, the teacher will disappear. So I guess in a way I am ready. He made me ready. I just hope that I can be as great of a man and as great a teacher as he was to all of us.